this international workshop, Transforming Masculinities in Politics, Care and Media. Mark Simpson is known by his reference to metrosexuality, and he will talk about metrosexuality and spornosexuality, which is a system of permanent revolution in masculinity. Mark Simpson, as you all know, is a British author that wrote in 1994 an article for the newspaper The Independent, where he talked about the future, and he said that in the future men would wish to be desired. In 2002, he referred to David Beckham as the paradigm of the metrosexual. He has also created the term retrosexual as the contrary, the opposite to metrosexual. And in 2012, he coined the term Spornosexual, which is an acronym from sports and porn, where he insisted on men using his body in a manner. Spornosexuals are tough men. They are very much focused on their body, and they work their body in gyms. They are the metrosexuals of the second generation. They have said from Mark Simpson that he is a very witty writer, and the term metrosexual is one of the most important terms used in the last 30 years. Amongst his books, we have to mention Metrosexy, Male Impersonators, End of Gays, It's a Queer World, and so on and so forth. He has also published several articles in newspapers. He has published in too many books, amongst which People, Stranger, The Telegraph, Financial Times, and so on and so forth. But since you are here to listen to Mark Simpson, I'm going to give him the floor. I would like to thank, first of all, the Estudis d'Arts i Humanitats from the Open University of Catalonia. Thank you very much for their support. Thank you also to the Deputation of Barcelona and to this space here, Francesca Bonmaison. Mark, you have the floor.
Hello, and welcome to what I hope will be a motivating experience. I say motivating because what we're talking about, or what I'm talking about principally here, is the transformed male body. And there are a lot of motivational videos online about how you can transform your body if you're a man today, particularly a young man. What I'd like to do to start with, though, is to show you some transformational pictures of men that you might know. Well, not personally, possibly, but know of. So, Chris Evans, you might know him from the Avengers and Captain America, most particularly. Chris Hemsworth. These are before and after pictures, by the way. On the left, as an Australian soap opera star, and on the right, a few years later, as Thor, the the god with the hammer in the Marvel comic movies. And Chris Pratt, also before and after. The left picture is before. Who made his transformation very famously for Guardians of the Galaxy last year. It's a science fiction film in which he plays a hero. All these chaps, by the way, are playing heroes in blockbuster Hollywood movies. Now here's somebody who isn't, oh, yes, he is a star, this one, Tom Hardy. A British actor who transformed himself into this, on the right there, to star in a Hollywood film called Warrior a few years ago. And even Justin Bieber, who isn't a film star, is in on the act. As you can see here, Justin Bieber has almost changed sex in these pictures. And he is now in his, what I would call spornosexual incarnation on the right, an Armani underwear model, which is pretty much the ultimate accolade for today's spornosexual, to be on the side of buses in expensive designer underwear with your legs apart. It means you've really made it. Now, this transformation is probably best exemplified in the Captain America film that Chris Evans, whose picture you've just seen a few moments ago, starred in a few years back. So it's worth playing this clip from the trailer of Captain America, the first Avenger. Here we are. It's the lab scene. Now, has anybody seen Rocky Horror Picture Show? Or, yes, one person. Oh, no, oh, good. I really wasn't sure how many people would have seen it here. And I'm glad that several of you have, because I just think that the Rocky Horror Picture Show wasn't science fiction. It was entirely predictive of the future. It just turned out that it was, about 30 years. US Marine who lost a limb. I think it was in Iraq, maybe it was Afghanistan. He's a male underwear model who is obviously very, very into the physical side of things, and also he's completely, as the picture shows you, he's completely open and proud about the fact that he's lost a limb, and the prosthesis is very much part of the picture. He is also very knowing in what he does, and is very, very, very flirty in a lot of his presentations. Oh, and as masculinity, well, let's perhaps just show you the picture. This is a picture for one of the contestants, I think one of the finalists this year for the Men's Health cover spot, because every year Men's Health magazine, which young men buy, mostly young men, buy in order to find out how to be a Men's Health cover model. That's really what it's for. But this year, one of the contestants is a trans man. Aidan Dowling, and here's a before and after picture, another transformation. I think Mr. Dowling was getting so many votes that he was in the top 4, or I'm not sure exactly where this competition is now, but it made a lot of headlines that a trans man was in the final. And in a sense, masculinity has become more trans. With spornosexuality. The muscle building, the body modification, the use of supplements, the test boosters, in some cases the juicing, that's the use of steroids by young men, is reportedly rapidly on the rise. And it's not very surprising that in such a visual culture as ours has become, many people, if not most, feel like they are perhaps born into the wrong body, to use a clumsy phrase, and transitioning to something, or hoping to transition to something more desirable. Certainly masculinity today is transitioning to something much more eye-catching. Spornosexuality and the eager male self-objectification that it represents is the latest, most spectacular, most intensive, pumped and ripped incarnation of the metrosexual revolution that's been going on for at least 20 years now. A revolution that, whatever you think of it, and whether or not we pay attention to it, isn't going away. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and buffer. Now, the point of all of this, I think, in this context here, Barcelona, Men in Movement, is I think that there is a tendency to presume that masculinity, we all know what masculinity is, and that it's hegemonic. I mean, I have a problem with the idea of hegemonic masculinity because I think built into that is the idea that it's unchanged, static. We know what it is, but I think that what I call the metrosexual revolution, and some others have called the metrosexual revolution, shows is that masculinity can change, and that this change is not, ironically, the metrosexual revolution is not purely skin deep. It's quite profound, because it changes some of the most basic assumptions that we have about masculinity, such as, certainly in the Anglo world, that men are active, not passive, straight, not gay, looking, not looked at, desiring, not desired. Metrosexuality, and now most flagrantly spornosexuality, have changed that. They haven't done away with some of those assumptions, but they've certainly undermined them radically. And like the young man in the clip that I showed you from Newcastle, I think he said his mother keeps calling him gay because he likes lycra, because he works out, because he takes care of his hair. The older generation can see, when it wants to, the change that's happened. And that's why some of them think, keep asking their sons, are you gay? Are you gay? Are you sure not gay? That looks quite gay. So that change has happened. But if it's the water that you're swimming in, and the air that you breathe, it's sometimes easy to not notice it. I think that's probably where I should end. Let me just see if there's one more video clip that I could show you. Yes. I could show you an ad. Yes, this is a very important ad, actually, that I should have showed you. I don't know if you've seen this. Apparently, it was supposed to be a Europe-wide ad for Ford cars, which sounds very boring, but here's the ad. Nothing remarkable about that ad to begin with. We're used to seeing images of desirable, sexualized young men in tight pants in advertising, and everybody is having a good look. But the punchline at the end of the ad, as you may have noticed, or sometimes you have to watch it a few times to realize, is where is he keeping his key fob? And all the scoping, all the staring at his tight pants hasn't been, well, it hasn't just been about the voyeurism of the viewer and the people on the beach, which we all take for granted now. It was to show us that he had nowhere to put the key fob, except where the sun don't shine. And so there is an ad which very, very cleverly sums up how far we've traveled and makes a very clever, very funny point at the end about men's bums, the sexualization of men's bums, which I will talk about more tomorrow at the workshop. Thank you very much.